Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Narayana Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti-vedanta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gokshara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Marga ki jai. Shri Rūpa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Braja Mandal Mathura Ram ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Go. Seems like the mic on this is not working very well. Is the sound very low when I'm talking with these headphones? Anyhow, I'll check the comments a little later and you can show me. Oops, where did I not open this? Sorry guys, okay, there. Gangeya champeya tared vinindi rochi pravaha snapitatma vende banduka bandu duti divavaso vrinde namaste charanara vendam bimbadarode tvaramandahasya nasagramukta duti dipitase vichitaradna varanashiyade vrinde namaste charanaravedam samasta vaikunta shiro manoshri krishnasya vrindavanadanyadamni dattadhikare vrishabhanuputra vrinde namaste charanaravedam paragaya Tava Pushpa Brigadi Bir Madhava Keli Kunja Madhva Dibhir Anti Pushamana Vrinde Namaste Charanavendam Tadiya Dutena Ne Kunjayuno Adyut Kayot Keli Vilasa Sevi Tatsobam Kena Niruchatam Tadvrinde Namaste Charanaravedam Rasa Vilasho Vasatishta Vrinda Vane Tare Shangi Saroja Seva Lavya Chapungsam Kripaya Tavaiva Vrinde Namaste Charanaravedam Tam Kirta Sesat Tantra Vedi Lila Vidana Kila Krishna Shaktis Tavaiva Murtis Tulasi Niloke Vrinde Namaste Charanaravedam Bhaktya Vihina Yaparada Lakshai Shiptashtakama Titarangamardik Kripa Maitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravedam Vrindashtakamya Shinuyat Padeva Vrindavanadisha Padabja Vrinda saprapya vrindavana nityavasam tad prema sevam labate kritartha vrinde namaste charanaravindam vrinde namaste charanaravindam jaya vrinda devi jaya vrinda devi jaya vrinda devi jaya tulsi maharani jaya vrinda devi tulsi maharani jaya vrinda devi. Okay, now we'll sing Shri Keśava-vrata by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī. One second. Wait, 1 second. Let me just check the sound is okay. Okay, it's okay. Good. Cool. Navapriyaka manjari rachita karna purashiyam vinidrataramalati kalita shekare nojvalam tarojvasita yuthika kratita valgovaikakshaka vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava pishangi manikasthane apranata shringi pinge kshane mritanga mukhi dhumale ashabali hanshivangshi priye ete swasura vikula taralamavayantamura vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava kana pranaya meduran o madura narma goshti kala vilasa nilayad milad avivida vesha vidyotina sakena kila saraya patishuhasayantam gira vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava shamambukanika bali daravilida gandantaram samudagiri dhatuvir alikita charupantram puram udancharali mandale dhyoti vidam vivakralakam vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava nivadhanavatarnaka vali vilokanodhantaya nadhat kuraputanchalar alugubir bhuvam tindatim kalena dhavala ghatam lagu nirvartayantam pura vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava padam katati virvaram virachayantam advashiyam chalattaralanaiciki anichaya dhulito brasrajan marula hari chanchale kritadukola chudanchalam vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava vilasa murali kala dvani birulasan manasa shanara kila pallavi pulakayantamantagrihe muhurvidadatan hride pramuditancha gosheshware vraje vijayinam bhaje avipina deshata Keśava Vetapati Sundari Tati Virabhiravyarchitam Smitam Kurakaram Pitar Natarapanga Bhange Shadar Stanastavaka Sanchara Nayana Chanchari Kanchala Braje Vijayinam Bhaje Avipina Deshata Keśava Idam Nikila Pallavi Kula Mahotsavolasana Kramena Kilaya Puman Patati Shushtupadashakam Tam Ujjvala Diyam Sada Nijapadara Vindadvaye Ratim Tadada Chanchalam Sukayatar Vishakasaka Praje Vijayinam Bhaje Avipina Deshata Keśava 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 Jaya Keśava-dev, 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 Jaya Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev, Keśava-dev, Jaya Keśava-dev. Alright, so today's article is an exposition of Bhakti, as delineated by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, by Śrīla Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja. This is an excerpt from an editorial entitled Varsha Sheshe, meaning at the end of the year. Oh, 1 second, let me just put this Mridanga down. And I think the volume was better without. Let me just check. I think it's louder now. Dandavat pranams, Sunanda Didi, Katya Didi, Gargraj, Haribo. Okay. A brief synopsis of Prem. The Gaudiya Vaishnav's exclusive object of worship is Shri Vrishabhanu Nandini's most beloved Vrindavan Chandra, the son of the king of Vraj. The Gaudiya's only sadhan is the path of pure spontaneous devotion, as exhibited by Bhagavan Shri Gaur Sundar, who is the combined form of Shri Radha Madhav. And their exclusive and ultimate goal, sadhya, is prem, the fifth goal of human life. This prem belittles the four goals of religion, economic development, fulfillment of selfish desires, and liberation. Prem has 5 prominent rasas, or loving moods in which Bhagavan is served. They are 1. Tranquility, Shanta; 2. Servitude, Dasya; friendship, Sakya; parenthood, Vatsalya; and 5. Conjugal affection, Madhurya. Prem also has 7 secondary rasas: laughter, Hasya; wonder, Adbhuta; chivalry, Vira; mercy, Karuna; anger, Rodra; apprehension, Bhayanak; and finally disgust, Vibhatsa. 1 second, let me clear my throat. Although prem in these primary and secondary rasas is relished in gradation according to one's eligibility for a specific relationship, Gaudiya Vaishnavas completely reject discussions on ras that are inappropriate for or beyond one's eligibility, one's adhikar. At the same time, they prescribe as imperative discussions on bhakti that are appropriate for one's eligibility. Since such talks do not create a spiritual impediment, Gaudiyas never disapprove of them. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī informs us. How do you do this? Sarvataiva durohoyam bhakter bhagavat rasa tatpadam bhuja sarvasvar bhaktir evanus bhaktir evanus rasyate. Non-devotees who desire sense enjoyment and liberation. Non-devotees who desire sense enjoyment and liberation and are thus averse to Sri Hari cannot possibly comprehend the sweet flavor, the ras, of service to Bhagavan in a particular relationship. Bhakti ras can be attained only by those for whom the lotus feet of Sri Krishna are everything. Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.131. He further says, with the help of a person's previous and present impressions, deep and powerful attachment, rati, to the lotus feet of Sri Hari becomes resplendent and itself becomes the form of bliss. It thus manifests exclusively as ras, the condensed liquid essence of integrated transcendental emotions. This takes place in the heart of a devotee whose every contamination has been washed away by the influence of bhakti, who is always joyful due to possessing an enlightened heart, who is attached to Sri Bhagavat, and therefore adept in the sentiments of transcendental ras, who remains intoxicated in the association of Rasik Vaishnavas, whose very life is the wealth of giving satisfaction to Sri Krishna through his service, and whose activities reflect the integral functions of prema. On the path of realization, that very rati, with the help of vibhav and other constituents of ras, attain its acme in the form of astonishment caused by highly condensed bliss. Vyatita bhavana vartama yaschamatkara bharabhu hridi sattvojjale bhadam swadate saraso mata. Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.5.132. When one's sthāyi bhav, one's permanent emotion, combines with the four other ingredients, namely vibhav, the stimulus that causes one to taste one's eternal bhav, anubhav, visible symptoms of that bhav, sattvika bhav, 8 transformations that occur when the heart becomes saturated with pure emotion, and vyabhichari bhav, bhavs that rise like waves in the ocean of one's eternal relationship. When all these 4 ingredients mix together with one's sthāyi bhav, one's permanent relationship with Krishna, then it surpasses the path of mundane contemplation and manifests on the platform of a radiant heart that is thoroughly purified by Shuddha Sattva. It constitutes ras. That's what ras is. It is the basis of excessive astonishment, and it is only relished in a heart that is pure. Ras arises when one's sthāyi bhav, our permanent sentiment in one of the 5 primary relationships, mixes with the above-mentioned 4 ingredients. When a person has no realization of his sthāyi bhav, and when not even a semblance of Shuddha Sattva is seen in his heart, his show of relishing ras and proclaiming himself to be rasik is sheer impudence. Such behavior only gives rise to anarthas. Gaudiya Vaishnavas continually remind us of this. The fruit of sadhan bhakti. By performing sadhan bhakti, rati, bhav, arises. If that rati is propelled favorably, it matures into prema. As prema is increasingly enhanced, it progressively attains the extremely rare stages of sneha, man, pranay, rag, anurag, bhav, and mahabhav. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī describes bhakti as a special potency of Bhagavan and the natural, eternally perfected function of the soul. Our endeavors, such as hearing and chanting, that we execute through our senses in an attempt to arouse that perfect nature is called sadhan bhakti. Alright, so that's what sadhan bhakti is. If we're not trying to arouse that perfect nature, if we're not trying to arouse bhav bhakti, when we're doing our spiritual endeavors, then it's not sadhan bhakti. Only when we're actually doing it with that aim and object. So when sadhan bhakti matures, it manifests as bhav bhakti, and when it matures further, as prem bhakti. Sadhan bhakti is of two types, Vaidhi sadhan bhakti and Raganuga sadhan bhakti. The inclination to perform the sadhan bhakti that is aroused by gradually following the discipline of the scriptures instead of by spontaneous attachment is called Vaidhi sadhan bhakti, and it has 64 limbs. The first 20 limbs are likened to the door to the kingdom of bhakti. Among them is acceptance of the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru. That's the first one. Adao Guru Padashrat. When a person is initiated into the Krishna mantra by Sri Gurudev, he receives teachings from him on Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. He should then perform Guru Seva with one-pointed faith, considering Sri Guru to be a non-different manifestation of Bhagavan, and at the same time, Mukunda Prishta, Bhagavan's dearmost associate. He should have complete faith that all perfection can be attained by Sri Guru's mercy. Among the 64 limbs, Angas of Bhakti, 5 have been determined as most prominent. They are 1. Sadhu Sangha, associating with the devotees of the Lord. 2. Nam Kirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord. 3. Bhagavat Shravan, hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures based on the conceptions of the Bhagavatam. 4. Mathura Vas, residing in Sri Brajmandal. And 5. Shraddha Purvak Sri Murti Seva, serving the deities with faith. Prem arises in one who even slightly performs these 5 angas. So that was the qualification for Vaidhi Bhakti. Now, qualification to perform Raganuga Bhakti. Only the Bhakti of the Vrajvasis, which is naturally inherent in their Atma and full of rag, full of attachment, is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Bhakti that is performed in pursuance of Ragatmika Bhakti is called Raganuga Bhakti. Swarasiki Rati, or natural condensed absorption in one's cherished object of love, is known as rag. It results from an excessive thirst that is full of prem for that object. A person has the right to perform Raganuga Bhakti only when a genuine greed is aroused within him to attain the extremely pure and truly natural attachment for Sri Krishna that is present within the Brajvasis. Therefore, the Mahārāja state, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Bhilabhyate Tatram Lolam Api Mulam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriter Nalabhyate. The consciousness that is saturated with Krishna Bhakti Ras, the condensed liquid essence of integrated transcendental emotions, cannot be attained even by spiritual merit accumulated over millions and millions of births. Indeed, there is only one price to attain it: intense greed. If it is available anywhere, one must purchase it immediately. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 870. There are 2 types of Ragatmika Bhakti. 1. Kamarup, conjugal relationship in which one's every endeavor is solely for Krishna's happiness. And 2. Sambandharup, relationship in which one identifies as Krishna's parent or friend. The unprecedented and renowned Kamrup Bhakti exists in the Vraj Devis alone. Premaiva Gopa Ramanam Kama Ityagamat Pratam Ityadhavadyo Peyatam Vanchanti Bhagavat Priya. The sublime, pure, transcendental prema of the gopis, which consists of offering all of one's senses solely for Krishna's pleasure, is known traditionally as Kam. Therefore, even those like Uddhav, who are already so dear to Bhagavan, desire this Kam Rupa Prem. Kubja had Sadarani Rati, general attachment to Krishna. She did not possess this Kam Rupa Rati, this selfless conjugal attachment to fulfilling Krishna's desires. Learned scholars accept that although Learned scholars accept that although externally her love resembled prem, factually it was not. In calm Rūpa Bhakti, pure conjugal devotion, which is transcendental, there is not even a scent of desire to satisfy one's own senses. In a Ragatmika's Bhakta's pure self-conception, he thinks, I am Krishna's father, or I am Krishna's mother. This is Sambandha Rūpa Ragatmika Bhakti, and it is based on relationship. The word Vrishnaya in the statement Sambandhad Vrishnaya from Srimad Bhagavatam 7.131 simply indicates relationship. We should know that the cowherd men of Braj are included within this type of Ragatmika Bhakti. The Gopas are prominent as Ragatmika Bhaktas because they completely lack knowledge of Krishna's majesty. Ragatmika Bhakti is twofold, Sambandharup and Kamarup. It therefore follows that Raganuga Bhakti is also twofold, Sambandhanuga and Kamanuga. So in those following, those who have a relationship with Krishna as a parent or a friend, or those following in the mood of the gopis, the conjugal mellow. In describing one who is qualified to perform Raganuga Bhakti, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī says, Ragatmikai kanishtaye vrajavasi janadaya tesham bhavaptyad lupto bhaver atradhikaravam tatar bhavadi madhurye shrute dhirya dapekshate natra shastram na yuktincha talobhut patilakshanam vaida bhaktyadikari tu bhavavirbhavavanvati atra shashtam tata tarkam anukulam apekshate. Only one who has genuine greed to attain the bhavs of the Brajvasis, who are steadfast in Ragatmika Bhakti, is eligible to perform Raganuga Bhakti. When one hears about the sweetness of the sentiments of the Brajvasis, such as Nanda and Yashoda, from the Bhagavatam and other scriptures, an intense longing within one's heart to attain those moods without depending on the regulations of Shastra or on logic is a symptom of arising greed. As long as bhav has not been aroused, one is eligible for Vaidhi Bhakti only, and therefore one must depend upon the injunctions of Shastra and on logic that supports and encourages the practice of bhakti. Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.291-293. This means that Vaidhi Bhakti is performed by one who is devoid of rag and whose inclination for bhakti is aroused by the regulations given in Shastra. Raganuga Bhakti is performed by one whose inclination for bhakti comes from a genuine greed to attain the natural sweet moods of the Vrajavasis and does not depend upon the discipline and arguments given in the scriptures. The Mahājans have stated, Vaidhi Bhakti has no power to bestow Vraj Bhav. The method of Raganuga Bhakti. Performance of Raganuga Bhakti is described as follows. Krishna smaranjana chasya preshtam nirja samihitam tat kata ratashchaso kuryad vasam vraje sada seva sadaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi tarbhava lipsuna karya brajalokanusarata. One should always reside in Braj and remember Krishna and his dearmost associates, whose moods one cherishes. Let me reread that better. One should always reside in Braj and remember Krishna and his dearmost associates, whose moods one cherishes, and should remain devoted to the narrations of their pastimes with Krishna. One who yearns to attain the moods of a cherished associate of Krishna, one who yearns to attain the moods of a cherished associate of Krishna, should serve under the guidance of his associates present in Vraj and their followers with his present physical body in which he performs sadhana, and also with his internally conceived perfected body, his Siddha Rūpa, that is suitable for rendering one's cherished service to Krishna. Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.294-295. It is prescribed that, if possible, one should physically reside in places such as Sri Vrindavan, within the area of Sri Nanda's Braj. But if that is not possible, he should reside there mentally. And in his perfected form, in his Siddha Roop, one must perform seva in the Braj pastimes under the direction of the Sakis, such as Sri Lalita, and Manjaris, like Sri Rūpa Manjari. And with his present physical body, in which he performs sadhan, his sadak Roop, he should serve in the footsteps of Sri Rūpa Gosvāmī and other Goswamis. Srila Kaviraj Goswāmī writes, Kaviraj Goswāmī writes, Bahya antar ihar duito sadhan, Bahya sadak dehe kore shravana kirtan, Mane siddha deha Mane nija siddha deha korya bhavan, Ratri dine kore vraje Krishner sevan. The practice of Raganuga Bhakti is twofold, external and internal. Externally, with the present physical body, the sadak deha, one performs shravan and kirtan, and within the mind, that is, within his internally conceived perfected spiritual body, in his siddha deha, he serves Krishna and Vrindavan day and night. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22, 152-153. Nejabhishta Krishna Preshta Pacheto Lagiya, Nirantara seva kore antarmana hoya. One who has attained greed for ragatmika bhakti constantly performs loving service within his mind in the wake of the dearmost associates of Krishna and Braj, whom he cherishes. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22, 155. 1 second. I just want to open up my door. Okay. In relation to the limbs of Raganuga Bhakti, Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī has said, Shravanot kirtanadini vaida bhaktuditani tu yanyangani tatanyatra vigyayani manishibhi. Those who are well versed in transcendental knowledge know for certain that the limbs of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtan, that have been prescribed for Vaidhi Bhakti, are also limbs of Raganuga Bhakti. Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-296. This means that Raganuga Bhaktas also should execute the limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti according to their respective eligibility. If, however, one lacks a desire to attain a relationship in Vraj, and only serves Bhagavan according to the path of rules and regulations, Vidhi Marg, one cannot attain the moods of Vraj. This is so important. I think I'm going to share this on Facebook. Furthermore, it cannot be accepted that one who imitates performance of Rag Marg is actually performing it. One who pretends to be a Raganuga Bhakta and displays a greed that is artificial before a genuine greed for transcendental Rag Bhakti has arisen, simply invites many types of anarthas. This results from indulgence in discussions that are inappropriate for one's qualification. Mercy alone bestows qualification for the greed of Raganuga Bhakti. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2-309 states, Krishnatar Bhakta Karunya Matra Labhai Kahetuka. The causeless mercy of Sri Krishna and his devotees is the one and only cause of greed for Raganuga Bhakti arising in the heart. The causeless mercy of Sri Krishna and his devotees. Other than genuinely following the path of Rag, there is no other means to attain Vrajabhav. Therefore, the endeavor to imitate the path of Rag is never to be equated with truly following it. The holy name mercifully bestows the qualification for Rag Bhakti to arise in the heart of one who takes complete shelter of Sri Nam Prabhu with a clear and sincere desire to attain Raganuga Bhakti. Such Raganuga Bhakti is characterized by extreme absorption in one's worshipable deity and one's cherished ras. Iha hoite sarvatsiddhi hoi betomar. By chanting the holy name, everyone will attain complete perfection in life. Nama Sankirtana Kalo Parama Upai. In the age of Kali, Chanting the name of Krishna is the supreme means of deliverance. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila 28. Only one who follows these instructions of Sriman Mahaprabhu and takes shelter of Sri Nam Prabhu in every respect will attain full perfection. May the current of the conceptions of the followers of Srila Rūpa Gosvāmī, the Sri Rupanugas, flow in this world. May we never show that we are not inclined, in any situation, to perform Sri Krishna Sankirtan Yajna, which has 7 tongues, 7 flames. If our increasing attachment to Sri Krishna Sankirtan remains one-pointed, we will achieve all perfection. With fearlessness and great enthusiasm, you should preach the message of Rūpa and Raghunath under the exclusive guidance of their followers, the Sri Rupanugas. Our highest aspiration is to become the dust of the lotus feet of such Rupanugas, and our eternal position is to be the foot dust of Sri Rūpa Prabhu. That is everything to us. The current of Bhakti Vinod's conceptions should never stop flowing. You all should vow to preach the internal desire, the Manobhishta of Sri Bhakti Vinod with increasing enthusiasm. These supreme instructions of the best of Rupanugas, Sri Guru Pad Padma Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, are the sole life of his dearmost Gaudiya magazine. To preach and practice these instructions alone is the exclusive activity of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Translated from the Weekly Gaudiya, Year 5, Issue 12, January 1953. Wow, that was beautiful. Yeah, that made it very clear for me how far away I am from Raghunuga Bhakti, but we perform Vaidhi Bhakti with the aspiration to enter into Raghunuga Bhakti. That's why sadhan, Srila Bhakti Purī Goswāmī Mahārāja explained that sadhan means when we're, it's only sadhan bhakti when we're aiming towards reaching bhav. So if we're doing our Vaidhi, like if we're performing Vaidhi Bhakti, but we're not aiming towards reaching bhav, then really it's not even sadhan bhakti. It's and you can go on doing that. Well, it's sadhan bhakti, but it's never going to reach Raghunuga. And we could go on for forever and ever performing Vaidhi sadhan bhakti and never come to Raghunuga. That's why we always have to keep that aim and object. And we have to hear, most importantly, we have to hear this katha from those who have rag. That's how it comes. All right, I'm going to do a quick Mahamantra. And okay. I have a friend here. He sings very nicely, but he's shy. Okay. I'm just going to do a quick Mahamantra today. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hari Tai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Tai Gaur, Hari Bol, 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 Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosvāmī Mahārāja Shila Gurudeva ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Mahārāja Shila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Brigyan Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Shila Bhaksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnu Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rūpa no Gauriya Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rūpa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaur Mandal Vrajamandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Sarva Avishtapadata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki Jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki Jai. Nityalapa Vishnupada Ashtadhara Shatashma Chila Bhakti Pramoda Purī Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki Jai. Oh, 1 second. Let me see if today's a special day. Yes, okay. Today is Shri Abhiram Thakur ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Tirabhav Titi ki Jai. I didn't read anything about him today. Anyhow. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keśava-vrata Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha. Vansha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. Are there any books on deity worship I can send to you? If you go, okay, just go to Google search, look at the lightning. Whoa. If you go on Google search, just type in Archandipika and type in pure bhakti, those two words, and then the first result will come, the Archandipika. And there's a new version that came out recently, which has been very much updated and everything's a lot clearer and yeah. All right, gotta go now. Haribol. Jai Shri Radhe. Thank you for joining me.